Alright lads, you're with Budget Monk, and welcome to another update video here. So as you can see, after 212 years now, guys, a lot of time played out actually. It was really awkward. This is roughly a 60-hour progress report, and we have formed Germany, as you can see. But what you may not be aware of is in between we formed Croatia, Sardinia, Piedmont, and then Germany to complete their missions. We now have 10% annexation cost reduction on top of the Hungarian from the Sardinia Piedmont until the end of the game. We got 2 missionary strength until the end of the game, and of course the 10 admin efficiency from the Prussian German Confederation Sardinia Piedmont missions, and we have reduced separatism by 5 years from forming Croatia. So putting us with also the German administrative efficiency and the German mission Kaiserreich. That's a total of 20, putting us at 65 admin efficiency. And Galicia, Aragon, Gascony, and Brittany are all my vassals after we just came out of a war against France, who I thought for the first time was not going to give us trouble. But in fact, we spent about 120,000 manpower defeating them. Now after, you can see here, we fed from Navarra to Aragon, releasing Galicia, releasing Gascony, feeding him, releasing Brittany, feeding him. After that war, hopefully we have done the damage and he will roll over. He was rocking with this age ability here, so disgusting. But with that being said, guys, diplomatic map mode, it's a little bit hard to see in the borders of Europe, but we're looking absolutely juicy here. You can see we have annexed the vast majority of our subjects. We actually are only 1 over our relations. Can you believe it? For the first time ever, we have more or less overcome the coalition. And I was just holding on to the Timurids here momentarily. This is required to form Rome, so we do have to turn against the Timurids. We have to do it anyway, but as the next objective is to push for Rome. So that's where my relation slot is going to be freed up. And Russia looking beautiful. Look at this beautiful border in Eastern Europe. So we had some real hard times, guys. Really hard times. And it makes me feel like I'm behind schedule. But everything has come together here. And most of our sort of transformative years are behind us. The game's going to be pretty straightforward. You can see we have from Portugal, who has been integrated, we've got Portuguese Cascadia, California, the Caribbeans, and Rio. Now, this stuff, guys, we're doing a 1 tag, so these subjects, they do help us in the meantime. They're giving us merchants, but they help us primarily by spreading the 1 faith. So they don't actually convert, as they have no effect from religious unity, the colonial nations, no penalty. But as we have converted everything within my own country, I am able to use those missionaries converting the New World when I otherwise wouldn't be able to. That means when I release these nations, they will be Hussite, and some of them will actually convert provinces they remain, or if they conquer provinces, to Hussite. So it's just a little thing there of significance, but just the fact that we're able to spread religion into territory that I don't technically own, in the sense that I have to abandon them, is actually good. And speaking of religion, this is how we look. So, I mean, obviously looking pretty good. But I'm not sure people understand the stakes at play here, guys. Like, this is an awesome game. Some of you guys will not have witnessed a game like this before. But in 100 years, it's going to be 1756. And the game is going to be drawing near to an end. You guys have to remember, we need to annex the entire world. We then need to convert the provinces to our religion. And then we need to convert the provinces to our culture. So if we take a province like Rome, and there are going to be much larger provinces. I typically do burn these, by the way. Somebody's going to say, burn it. I do. It's got a 20-year cooldown, and the cooldown has come up here. It takes 10 times the development in months to convert. So this is one of the biggest issues. You can see it takes 440 months. You divide that by 12, and that is years. So remember, you cannot convert if there is separatism. So that's after conquering it. We are going to stack separatism modifiers. And I should show you guys the culture. That's all it looks like right now, guys. That's Austrian in a nutshell. A long ways to go. But yeah, there's so much occurred, guys. I struggle to actually update you. There's no way around it, guys. It's incredibly tedious and slow, but enjoyable at least now at the same time. And if you guys want to see the details, you have to watch. You could watch the update on my Live Archive, Budget Monk Live Archive YouTube channel, or come watch live. But what I'm going to do, rather than explaining everything that has occurred, is talk about the future here. This is our current state. We actually have valid rivals, which is like dumbfounding. I think both France and Britain are invalid as of unpausing the game, but Ming is valid. Now, the reason why is because we have 0 states. Yes, we have 0 states. So one method we used here when we formed Sardinia Piedmont, I had already stated this up and culture flipped to Piedmontese, and then I actually unstated the territory, which allowed me to. Well, you can still move your capital here by forming Sardinia Piedmont to a non-state. Now, your capital, even though it's a territory, will always have 0 autonomy, always. So this is not a state, but we have 0 autonomy in this 33 development province, which is decent. And then I was able to unstate my previous capital region after my capital moved. So we have 0 states, and 0 states is the most efficient way to play with governing capacity, right, guys? So despite we've been spamming courthouses, but you can see, maybe only 50% of our country has courthouses. That's why we're doing well on governing capacity here, is because we don't have a single state. There are some issues with that. When you open and close this game on the current patch, your autonomy is a lot better than it should be in most provinces. And that means if I show you stuff like this, we're not this rich, guys. We are not this rich. We don't gain 80,000 manpower from slackening standards. I wish we did. It's more like 32. So it's really tedious to actually give you guys updates, because that's going to be a reoccurring trend. Anything I show you is fake, basically. It adjusts at the end of the month. Yes, our total income we are starting to feel really affluent though. And we rolled this good ruler. I went through a period of having a terrible regency, part of the reason I'm feeling slow and sluggish, but I now have a young ruler here with 6 admin. And you can see with a rank 3 advisor and a focus, we're getting 16 per month. I'm going to be taking unrest here because we're actually a really stable country. And I'm going to be jacking up to rank 5, which will give me 18 per month. If I'm not mistaken, guys, with the focus, the 6, the rank 5 advisor, the power projection, and what else? I think that is the maximum admin you can actually get, 18, which is perfect. So the reason I released Galicia, Fed Aragon, released Gascony and Brittany here, is because we've been pushing administrative ideas. So administrative is about to be completed here, and that's going to give me 25% governing capacity. Very important, because our next move is we're pushing for Rome as quickly as I can, and then consuming the entire world. But 25 governing capacity, very nice. We're also going to get 20% annexation cost reduction policy, which we have lost Austrian traditions, but that puts us at 80% annexation cost reduction, provided that we take the parliamentary bonus for 15%. Then we always have 80% reduction. Now, the parliamentary bonus is basically guaranteed as long as you have 5 vassals or more. Well, with the exception of Russia, all of my relations will be vassals for the rest of the game, so that shouldn't be an issue. And we have 80% reduction. Combined with our admin efficiency, that's pretty damn good annexation cost reduction to actually have. So next moves are to push for Rome, guys. Push, push, push. So I've been trying to expand without spending my admin here, but I'm hoping with 18 per month, which I'm literally going to have now, onwards, as long as this guy doesn't die. Please don't die. And we're doing fine on prestige. We're working on getting a really good heir for a next generation ruler as well. But yeah, we're going to catch up, and we're pushing for Roman borders. So if we look at Roman, it's pretty clear here. We need to kill these Italians. Looking at Milan, guys, he's almost a one-war job. If we had Imperialism CB, which we're getting close, I now get 13 Diplo per month, and you can see with the catch-up mechanics, we're like, we're not that far behind in Diplo anymore, which is just beautiful. It's not going to take us long to catch up, and this gives us an indication of where we are in reality. We're near Tech 21, which means imperialism is around the corner, giving me the option, of course, to attack anybody and everybody. But yeah, admin is going to go towards like a 2-war job against Milan, killing these other Italians. France is, what I'm hoping, guys, is to attack one of these guarantees to reset my truce, because the truce is all the way until 71. So let's say we fight him, it takes a year or so to win the war. Then another 15-year truce, we're looking at 16 years on top of that, is 87. So it's just so late, and that's provided that we can take everything we need in one war. It's hard to say. You do not need the lowlands to form Rome. You see that? And these are quite high dev provinces. They're actually much higher dev on average. The other thing is that you don't need any of this stuff that he's been colonizing to form Rome, obviously. So it's pretty clear what we do need. We need this stuff within France. But just by judging by his war score, I'm not sure we have enough to just one-shot him, which kind of sucks. So I'm going to try to truce reset him. We just spawned in these subjects. They don't have admin points anyway. So actually one of my next moves, if we could, would be to jump back into war with him, white peace him, truce reset him. And then, honestly, if we can't do it in one war, I would probably do a small war against him with a shorter truce, which sets up the next war with the shorter truce to be a big chunk and to actually get the Roman borders. Otherwise, we need London. We need this province. That's my subject. I can seize it from him. I can seize Hum. We need that province. We need that province. We need Cairo. This is what we're pushing for. And we need to integrate my own subjects and take out Spain here. My truce is actually up with Spain. This is going to be one of our next wars where I feed him to Aragon also, because it doesn't cost admin to expand. We're also going to feed Russia some more in the meantime, because that doesn't cost admin to expand. And hopefully kill all of these German nations, gobble them up, and then it will be a matter of consuming the entire world as quickly as we possibly can after we formed the Roman Empire. Alright, speaking of forming Rome, lads, one of the next moves, which is bottlenecked after forming Rome, is to move our capital to a colonial region, which allows me to actually occupy colonial regions without forming colonial nations. And that's bottlenecked behind Rome because Rome moves my capital to Rome. So if we moved our capital to the New World now, it would move back and colonial nations would release. So with that being said, we're pushing for Rome, like I said, as quickly as we can. At that point, assume I don't have this. I'll probably end up selling that province or something. This is the kind of method for people who don't understand. You cannot move your capital to a colonial region. You can't do it as a general rule. The only way you can do it is if your capital is isolated and the only province on the entire continent. That's the most simple and straightforward way of just explaining it. So what you can do is Bermuda is in North America, but it is not a colonial region, right? It does not release as the Caribbean or whatever. So if we take this from Spain, assuming I don't have that, you can move your capital here, which then makes it the only province in North America that you own. Anything else you would own would form a colonial nation, which is now your capital. And then that allows you to move to another colonial region. Ideally, we want to move to Australia. I don't think an Australian tag actually exists right now. And that's a little bit awkward. I don't really know what to say about that. It's a ways off, but I also don't have colonial ideas myself. Oh, no, that's an island, I think. Regardless, ideally we want to move to Australia, and then we can then conquer all of the colonial nations. Now, with that being said, colonial nations do not give you overextension if they didn't exist in the beginning of the game, the provinces. So the idea is to actually annex these as quickly as we can because we're bottlenecked behind conversions of territory that we actually own. So if we want to one faith, we want to own this stuff, even though I won't necessarily be able to core it. I will just keep it uncored, convert it up, it should be stable. and the separatism does decrease to an extent. And we will just core them up in the late game, probably combined with starting a golden era, which reduces the core construction cost by 10%. So that's what we're looking at in terms of colonial nations. And we've got 100 years, guys. We've got 100 years to do the main bulk of everything we're going to do. So I want to explain a little bit of a approach and a strategy that we're going to take, because some people are going to think, how can we do this in such a short period of time? Well, let's take Japan, for example, because I looked at his war score cost. He's a pretty good example. If we have imperialism CB, he is full annexable, right? Japan is full annexable because it reduces war score cost by 25%. It actually reduces the capital, because that's the war goal, by 25% also. So very often a nation has a large capital, and you can reduce that by 25%. That's, 1 or 2 or even more war score, which means, if you do the math, guys, reducing 100 by 25%, the math is always a little bit complicated, but obviously if the war score is 100, if it is 100, then what is 25% of 100? It's 25. So that means that 100 goes down to 75 war score. So actually, when the war score goes greater than 100, then the amount that it is reduced goes greater than 25. So you can full annex a nation who is actually about 132 war score, about 132. You can full annex with imperialism CB. But then, like I said, you can even get sometimes 3 war score or so, depending on the size of their capital. Like Beijing can be huge, right? Because it's reduced even further. So in this case, with imperialism CB, Japan is full annexable, is the point I'm trying to make. Now, what's the point? So often you want to basically 100% overextend, waiting for the cause, fight another war. As soon as the cause finish, peace out the other war, overextend. And that's usually how you're limited, right? Is it coring. What we want to do is basically use every single one of our Diplo slots. So I need to integrate these guys to form Rome, right? To also fight another war against the largest nations that can be full annexed. And then I'm simultaneously, right? So we're expanding coring. We full annex Japan, and then we're going to release them as a vassal. That's why we've stacked 85% annexation cost reduction, right? Is to do this kind of play. So that's going to be incredibly efficient, because in terms of stability, right, we full annex this at the same time and just re-release him. That's going to make him nice and stable. It's going to be efficient in terms of missionaries and conversions. We can then enforce on him, and then even though he might have some liberty desire, we can just dump missionaries straight in. We're not waiting for the cause, while we're overextended in other areas, and rinse and repeat, right? That's the idea. So we go to other regions. Now, Japan is looking around a pretty good size, but let's look at, for example, Manchu. So Manchu, you can see here that he's slightly too much. Well, that won't be the case when we get this 10 admin efficiency. That 10 admin efficiency at 23 is going to make a big difference, right? So what we would do with a nation like Manchu is I would 100% overextend and feed the rest to Russia. I've checked out his absolutism, and it's actually pretty high. So that's another guy. The idea is we go around, just whack, full annex, each one of these big tags. Some of these guys as tribes from Ming can be awkward, but again, Yarkand is an option to just attack, full annex. If we look at Bengal... Yeah, so you guys will be surprised. Do you remember the breakdown that I just did? We'd be looking at about 130... Where's his capital city? It is there. In this case, probably about 134 war score to full annex. Now, so he's way over, right? Well, this admin efficiency, you will be surprised for people who don't understand. We are paying a grand total of 35%. We have 65% reduced war score cost here, right? So the remaining is 35. So how much is 10 out of the 35? It's a huge amount. It's near 33%. It's not. 33%, if we had 30 total instead of 35, then 10 would reduce everything by 33%. the point is that gap is going to close dramatically, and you might be surprised. We might be able to full annex a nation as big as Bengal, release him as a vassal, enforce on him while we're overextending, convert him up, and incorporate him into the country. This is the kind of methodology we're going to use. There are some nations still that are just blatantly too big, like Virginia, and sooner rather than later, I mean, this will be the priority after forming Rome. We need to snake our way down here. We will have imperialism CB, but it's always good to have a border and start chunking him so that the truce is coming up and we can start chunking him again. But that's how we're going to go. Again, Uzbek, feed to Russia. I want Russia to basically touch the Timurids down here because the Timurids are too big. So we 100% overextend in Persia and give them Samarkand. And that's how things are going to go going into the future. Now, we are well and truly in the late game, guys, and the grind begins here, really. It's probably going to take about twice as long as it has taken so far. You know, a lot has happened in the early game, and the late game can be much more monotonous and seemingly non-impactful. But I hope you guys are hyped. I'm really hyped, and I don't expect to get as much growth in as viewing live as I have on stream during the grindy late game, but this is the greatest game of all time. And if we actually achieve what we set out to achieve, I hope that you guys would come in strong to show some support during the sort of final stretch if you can. It's going to be really interesting, guys. It's going to be really, really interesting to see if we can make it. I hope you guys are hyped. I hope you enjoyed this update video and myself sharing my thoughts as to what we're going to do in the future. And I don't know, send some good fortune, some prayers my way, guys, because it's a long road here and it's a hard challenge, man. Of course, the one tag, one faith, one culture as the culture of Rome on very hard difficulty, no exploits. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time, or I'll see you live.